the treetops glisten and children listen to hear sleigh bells in the snow. I'm dreaming of a white Christmas with every Christmas card I write.
Not long ago, I made a video called
It's Time to Regroup.
It had to do with YouTube censorship, feminist control, and how we as men need to reconsider where we stand in the realm of social media. Now, I want to continue that idea, but this time put it into a more broad concept. I want to start with an article I found about a YouTube uploader who I am subscribed to by the name of Tommy Sotomayor. I'm sure some of you know who he is. Now, according to the beating pulse of the internet, he has been the subject of constant harassment by people who disagree with his opinions. Now, I've watched his videos for some time, and I fail to see anything within the content that he provides as something that must be petitioned and even flagged or banned. But alas, this is what has been happening. This black man has taken it upon himself and, using the tools at his disposal, make his opinions be known with no fear of contrasting opinions. All are welcome to comment and agree or disagree. But don't take my word for it. Let's hear a little excerpt from what he says from the video of his that I'm sourcing.
After we get rid of Tommy Sotomayor, then what? If you've noticed, there's been a concerted effort by many YouTubers and people on the internet to get rid of me, because they say that my message is a bad message to the black community. I want you to think about this for a minute. I want you to think about what's being said. What people are saying is that because we don't like your message, we feel we should be able to silence your message. Freedom of speech is something that black people claim to cherish a whole lot. Black people get to run around and call white people crackers and honkies and devils. They get to blame the white man for everything that happens. Kanye West gets to walk in front of the world and say, George Bush don't like black people. In the process, black folks figure that nothing should happen to them. They should be able to say these things and have impunity.
Now, if the recent news on these events are true, then where do we stand? As men, where do we really stand? Considering that this Mr. Pepper from my last video on the topic was flagged, harassed, and banned from YouTube, as well as other social media platforms, for doing what everyone else has the right to do on YouTube or Facebook or any other platform, we must consider this. What powers truly have control over this medium? You know, this medium of the internet, which, by the way, was unknown to the world until the advent of this incredible design known as
The web.
You know, who are our masters? Who has the final say in what can be expressed and what cannot? Considering the internet is for everyone, which conglomerate of people and their worldviews are considered privileged enough, and I stress
Privileged enough.
to shut down any perspective that does not suit their own? Well, it certainly isn't men. I mean, so much for the patriarchy. And it certainly isn't children. They got no say in this matter. So who is it? Well, surprise, fucking surprise. It turns out that it is women who have this power. I mean, come on. When is the last time you saw a collective group of men petition and get a group of feminists banned from YouTube? When? It's never happened. Men don't have that power. A collective society of men or MRAs or MGTOWs. They don't have that power. Not in the social justice warrior media bullshit. It doesn't fucking happen. And it's unfortunate that some men tend to side and conform with these women's opinions. And you know what? If you are one of those men that stand up and allow for complete censorship of the opinions of men, simply because it disregards the opinion of a fucking woman, whether she be black, white, yellow, or orange, you know what? You know who you are. And I'm going to say to you right now, go fuck yourself. All right? But you know that if any sane person looked at the dictates of modern Western society and all that it has accomplished, as well as all that it currently ignores, you would have to be the fool of a fool to think that a patriarchy exists, especially in the social media paradigm. Consider rape laws, custody laws, workplace deaths, homelessness, education bias, and even who should be rescued first from a burning building. I dare say any modern culture today clearly show to anyone with enough intelligence to at least pay attention that our world is gynocentric, and this outside world of gynocentrism has translated so well into the world of ones and zeros, into the world of social media. Clearly, anyone can see this, and it's always been that way. Let us consider what has happened with YouTube censorship. Now, what we have seen so far, as expressed by Rush V, as I pointed out in my last video, and Tommy Sotomayor, is that social media is biased in favor of women's
feelings,
as well as men who are victim to gynocentrism. Sam Pepper was deleted from not only YouTube, but almost any other social media he may apply to, simply because our gynocentric overlords judged that making a joke video about touching women's asses has no place in the free world. Tommy Sotomayor has been constantly harassed and censored simply because, as a black man, he wishes to inform his brothers on the condition of relationships between black men and black women. Now, the list of victims to this kind of uncontrollable censorship goes on and on. Well, consider Gamergate, where people of all communities who play games are alienated by a minority of women and manginas because the latter believes games are oppressive to women. And while doing so, they lump all gamers into a category of women-hating liars, thieves, and rapists. This too has shown how, regardless of being a majority of normal people, and believe me, you and me, we're normal people. You listening to this, you and I, we're normal fucking people. But regardless of that, the media and its feminist cohorts can shut you up with a simple tweet. You know, it might as well be masking tape and handcuffs. All right, now anyone listening to this now, again, is well aware of the censorship issues that have been going on in social media and popular media to date. So I think it's about time that we explore the roots of this totalitarian control in order to hopefully one day, if not today, solve this fucking problem. Freedom of speech is a mantra that every living individual will cry, regardless of race, color, creed, religion, gender, and any other identity that falls within the realm of a sane mind. I bet no one would argue against it, even though some modern movements, such as, well, guess what, feminism, tend to apply it only to their own ideology, aka some animals,
Are more equal than others.
but it's deeper than that, especially regarding the censorship of the gentleman that I mentioned before in this video. The question is, why is this happening so frequently in social media? And even more so, why do so many people not care? Now, in the past and up until today, there is a law that has its roots in both English common law, which is protecting the right of cross-examination, and even older in Roman law, which guaranteed persons accused of a crime the right to look their accuser in the eye. Imagine that. You accuse me of a crime? How dare you? Look me in the eye. I want to see who you are. What a beautiful right that is. And this lends a very strong backbone to this modern day philosophy that even the goddamn feminists want to monopolize. And that is free speech. Now in America today, they call this the
Sixth Amendment.
But shh, be careful who you say that around, because it might upset them. First, let us consider social media on the internet. I mean, what is the process that gets videos, tweets, posts, opinions, pictures, and responses removed from that very platform? Well, we can call it the flag. You have been flagged. Your video, your picture, your comment has been flagged. The problem with this is that no one needs a good reason to click the little tiny mouse button and type in a few condescending words just to get your opinion wiped from the inventory of cyberspace, and most likely with the help of their little gynocentric friends. Now, have you ever noticed that if you flag a comment or video, a comforting community message pops up that says, "You will remain anonymous for flagging this video"? In other words, you can just be an asshole or have a bad day and report anyone for anything to be removed, all the while laughing comfortably within the downy sheets of your anonymity. This is bullshit, and it has to change. I mean, if you have the balls to flag someone for something that you disagree with, you should also have the balls to sign your name to it. Hey, I don't like what you have to say, but this is me. What do you think about that? Now, to be honest with you, I have never gone out of my way to flag a person's comment or a page or a post or even a video on YouTube. I've been doing this shit for how many years? And never once, even though I've disagreed with their opinions, I've often thought that the person speaking to me through that YouTube video was a complete moron. But never have I gone out of my way to fucking press that little button and say, "Fuck you, I'm gonna flag you, or I'm gonna report you, and I want you out." And I'm just one man of fucking 6 billion, that use this medium. What ends up happening is you have a number of these people ganging up together, these gynocentric goddamn feminist fools, all of them under this promised anonymity. Nobody knows who's flagging you. Nobody knows who's accusing you. Not on the internet. Nobody fucking knows. You can simply stand up and go, "Fuck you," tell all your friends to say the same thing, done, you're gone. And we've seen the examples I showed you before. This is what's happening. There is no fucking Sixth Amendment. There is no right to look your accusers in the eye in fucking cyberspace. It doesn't exist. And this is where we are, and we need to understand this. Okay? It does not happen. There is no due process. And there is no what we call the confrontation clause. Have you heard of this? Now, this clause states that, and I quote, "In all criminal prosecutions, the accused shall enjoy the right to be confronted with the witnesses against him." Generally, this right is to have a face-to-face confrontation with witnesses who are offering testimonial evidence against the accused in the form of cross-examination during a trial. But again, this is the internet. This is the gynocentric cyberspace we're dealing with. There's no cross-examination. There's no right to confront your accusers. But can you imagine how much power would be taken away from the Sarkeesians of social media and their loose lips that cry foul and plead victimhood, all the while being disguised by this social media anonymity? If only when they press that little button to accuse you that they would have to step up and say who they are. But anyway, that's just a fantasy, I think. I mean, after all, who is controlling this paradigm? Consider these social media justice warrior concepts in regards to anonymity in accusations within the World Wide Web. And in my opinion, it seems very similar to what is happening within concepts of rape and rape culture that I'm sure you are all aware of. You know, things such as college campus rape hysteria and the new yes means yes law that has recently passed in California. Now, John the Other recently did a great short video on this, where he discussed an article on the subject called "Let's Accuse Ezra Klein of Rape." I'll link you to this video below so you can watch it for yourself. But basically, he is highlighting the out-of-control concept of refusing the right of due process to anyone simply accused of rape. This concept has been in the works for, well, I would say a few decades now. But with this yes means yes law now in full swing, it seems a person's human right, as defined by the Sixth Amendment, the due process assumption of innocence, and the confrontation clause, well, they're set to disappear completely from the crime of rape. And this is happening in social media, as you can see, with fucking gynocentric women simply saying, "I got a death threat. Somebody threatened to intrude my talk by shooting guns and killing everybody." This just happens all the time. Women just saying anything they want in social media, and everybody jumps up and fucking believes them without any goddamn evidence. Due process, assumption of innocence, confrontation clause, it's all going to disappear. And it's happening in the real legal system, outside of the ones and zeros of the internet. It's happening in rape. Now, how long do you think before this begins to infect all the other parts of law? Now, do you see how I'm trying to make this connection between the Sixth Amendment and internet censorship? Now, I know flagging a person's opinion on social media is not the same as accusing a person of a criminal offense, but the line is blurred. Yes, we have these
Blurred lines.
and it's becoming more so with each passing year. And considering that most flaggers of opinion, as well as supposed rape victims, well, they tend to be feminist women and social media warriors, well, don't expect things to change anytime soon. We, as a society, have been gynocentric for our entire existence as a species. Women will always be considered fragile enough that we must pander to their sensitivities, to their words. They could never lie. Now, I want to just inform the listener about where this deterioration of an individual's right to face his accuser and the Sixth Amendment began, so you, yourself, can form your own opinion and further research it for yourself, if you wish. First of all, the Sixth Amendment is defined as this:
a part of the United States Bill of Rights that sets forth rights related to criminal prosecutions. The Supreme Court has applied the protections of this amendment to the states through the Due Process Clause of the 14th Amendment.
And the Due Process Clause, which is part of the 6th Amendment, says,
"The guarantee of a fair legal process when the government seeks to burden a person's protected interests in life, liberty, or property. And substantive due process is the guarantee that the fundamental rights of citizens will not be encroached on by the government."
Did you hear that? Did you hear it? This is the rights you're supposed to have. Now, after I quoted all of that, do you think you have those rights on the internet? No, you don't. You don't have those rights. Whatever you say is going to be used against you without the right of you being able to confront the person who has accused you of saying it or have done that. It doesn't exist. Now that's just the internet, but it's happening in real life as well. Now other rights under the 6th include, but are not limited to, the right to a speedy trial, an impartial jury, and very importantly, confrontation. The ability to say, you accused me of doing this, you forsake your anonymity, and you stand up and show me who you are. That does not happen, okay? It does not happen. None of these things, they don't hold weight anymore when it comes to rape accusations. Same on the internet. Just like I said, you can accuse anyone of anything, but you're never responsible for your accusations. Apparently, so-called rape victims can accuse someone of raping them, and the accused is never allowed to confront his accuser. And nowadays, they almost never see a fair or speedy public trial. Now, I'm going to source the following information from a website that is www.law.harvard.edu, as in education. This article reveals how rape shield laws brought into practice in the late 70s, under apparently good intentions, may have led to what we have today, where due process and confrontation, they're no longer relevant when it comes to rape charges. But please keep in mind that every time from this point on that I mention rape charges, we are talking about victim woman, rapist man, okay? Just keep that in mind. Now, I'll read from the website, quoting,
"In the last few years, 46 jurisdictions have made efforts to protect rape victims from the humiliation of public discourse of the details of their prior sexual activities. In most states, the legislatures have passed shield laws restricting a criminal defendant's ability to present to the jury evidence of past sexual history."
End quote. Now you see, this is where shield laws came from. This was back in the 70s. For all you laymen out there, this is where it came from. And it was a slippery slope. Yes, it was. Now on the outside, it seems fair. We have to protect the accuser, but do we really? I mean, the thing is about rape is that generally there are no witnesses. So why would you protect one over the other? Usually in rape charges, you have an accuser and a defendant, and there are no witnesses. How many people are witness to the sexual activity of two grown adults, whether it be forced or not? It just doesn't happen. Anyway, let's continue on what it says about these rape shield laws. Quoting,
"Almost unanimously, the literature of the last few years has encouraged these laws and attempted to justify any adverse consequences to the defendant by claiming that the state's interest in protecting rape victims is sufficiently important to overcome any constitutional objections. The changing moral climate in this country and the increasing leniency about sexual relationships outside of marriage, it is usually argued, have discredited the old rationale that the unchastity of a woman has a material bearing on whether she has really been raped.
So basically, if the woman is a whore and she fucks for money and she fucks a lot of people, it doesn't matter anymore in a rape case. You can't bring that up for evidence. These are the rape shield laws. Her history does not count. But I'm wondering, if a man breaks into a house and he steals some shit from that house, I wonder, would that man's history be brought up? What if he'd broke into houses before? Maybe. He maybe half a dozen times he committed breaking and entering. He committed crimes of a similar thing, and he was brought to trial. Could they bring up his history of breaking and entering and say, hey man, actually this dude has broken into 3-4 houses before? So, he's done it before, he might do it again. But not when it comes to fucking rape. And like I said, in the 70s, they made this happen. Oh, this woman, she's a fucking whore. She's a hooker. She fucks for money. She's been involved in this kind of shit many times. But that doesn't fucking matter anymore. It doesn't matter. Her history doesn't matter. These are these rape shield laws that I just quoted that are in law, that have been in law for the last fucking 3-4 decades, all right? In other words, a woman's sexual history, it outweighs the Sixth Amendment. It outweighs the confrontation clauses. Her word becomes more important than her known unchastness, without witness or evidence. Now, this is where it all went wrong in 1978, if I'm not mistaken. That was the year until now. And we as men must trust the word of a whore before we trust the word of a reliable witness. It is cognitive dissonance for most men who still swallow the blue pill. And you know what? Social media, since then, has followed this paradigm. And this is not an accident. The internet is following this paradigm of bullshit laws, and it is not an accident, and you must understand that now. But keep in mind that at this time, when these laws were being put into place and contested, it still states this from the same source that I'm quoting from. It says,
whatever indignities are suffered by the complaining witness, yes, the woman, in any criminal trial, they do not compare with those a convicted defendant must suffer. There is no more serious undertaking of the state than accusing a person of a crime with the concomitant threat of loss of liberty or life. We reluctantly conclude that some rape victim shield laws violate the Sixth Amendment right to defend oneself.
yes, even back then when rape shield laws were being applied, people were fucking fighting it. They were saying this goes against the rights of normal human beings. You cannot put an accused person in a position where he is not able to defend himself against the word of an individual. But it is so particular, it is so amusing that it just so happened to come up with rape. With rape. It started with rape. The deterioration of the Sixth Amendment and the rights of an individual to face his accuser and the rights of an individual to be innocent until proven guilty. It all started to end with rape laws. And who does rape law favor? It favors women. Men were the victims, the original victims of the deterioration of the Sixth Amendment. This is the truth. And it's happening time and time again in the Western world. it appears that a woman's word seems to be God's word. A woman's word is God's word. Or in the very least, it's enough. Now I'm going to continue quoting from this source. And it goes on to say, and I quote,
At common law, the rules governing the use of a rape complainant's sexual history had always provided that such evidence was always admissible. Three elements combined to create the rule of admissibility. The first was the fear of false charges brought by vindictive women.
Yes, even back then, women were considered to be a species that could be vindictive. Sir Matthew Hale, Lord Chief Justice of the King's Bench, stated that rape, quoting,
is an accusation easily to be made and harder to be defended by the party accused. Second was the concept that chastity was a character trait. If a woman could be shown to be unchaste by nature, then it could be inferred that she had consented to sex with the defendant.
And we talked about this before. If you're willing to fuck a lot of people, if you're willing to be a hooker, basically, then you better be prepared to have a very strong case if you accuse somebody of rape. But of course, that doesn't exist in the modern age, not anymore.
Now, the third was the belief that premarital sex was immoral. Acts of previous illicit sexual relations, like other acts of moral turpitude, could thus be used to impeach the credibility of the complaining witness in a rape case.
We don't have those moral attitudes anymore. Yet women still want to be defended. They want their previous actions to be not considered every time they point a finger at a man for raping them. Ladies and gentlemen, this does not happen anymore within our current paradigm of Western law. And as I stated earlier, in social media, an accusation is made against a person's opinion and the wheels begin to spin. Whereas in a just world, nothing at all would happen. Instead, we have the false accuser making headlines by making guest appearances on the nightly news to reinforce her hypocrisy. And yes, I said her and not his. And the reason is very simple. Ladies and gentlemen, the next time you are aware of a man who goes out of his way to make a fool of himself in the media by making a false rape claim or making an accusation that someone is going to shoot up a school just because they want to speak, you let me know the next time a man does that. Because as far as I've ever seen up to this date, it's always been a woman. You know who you are, Sarkeesians. And I swear to God, ladies and gentlemen, if these laws do not change in real time and in social media and the internet, then it is not going to get better. In fact, it will get a lot worse from here on in. All right, I'm going to continue and sum this up from my sourced article. Quoting,
Whatever the situation may have been in times past, it is difficult to argue today that the danger of false charges is greater for rape than for any other kind of crime. These authors are undoubtedly correct that the old laws that single out rape cases for special evidentiary rules were unwarranted. This thesis, however, cuts both ways. Just as testimony should not automatically be admissible in rape cases, it should not automatically be inadmissible solely because a trial involves rape instead of some other crime affecting the same people. A basic premise of evidentiary rules is that they focus on issues common to all trials and do not develop differently for each substantive crime and civil cause of action.
yes, you heard that right, ladies and gentlemen, from the authors at Harvard. And it's the same when it comes to social media, the new social media. It's the same. The fact that the accused is always guilty before he is proven innocent. And for some reason, the rest of the world seems to be okay with this bullshit. All right, once more, in conclusion, I will quote from my sourced material.
Quoting, "A state is constitutionally prohibited from enacting a rape victim shield law that limits a defendant's ability to introduce otherwise admissible evidence. The Sixth Amendment rights of confrontation and compulsory process guarantee exactly this. No person accused of a crime may be denied the right to introduce evidence when the probative value outweighs the prejudicial effect. The state and federal governments may not legislate to alter the rules of evidence so as to place unusual and new burdens on the accused's ability to defend himself. Testing rape victim shield laws against this federal constitution standards finds many of them defective."
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, the authors there at Harvard and their thesis, they conclude that rape should get no special privilege in regards to enacting the Sixth Amendment and all the rights that it holds. It should be handled as any other crime. But what began as a way to protect a woman's prior sexual history when a man is defending himself against her accusation has become far more sinister. Yes, to protect the feels of a woman, we will sacrifice the rights of a man to a fair trial and the ability to confront his accuser. On campuses and in cyberspace, the Sixth has died. Bow your head. Don't try to look for it. It isn't there anymore. And the reason this tragedy of justice is rampant in social media is because the internet allows for a very tiny minority of fucking sociopaths to generate the illusion of majority opinion. In other words, they manufacture consent. And on campus, if you're a man and have dared to swoon someone of the opposite sex, well, congratulations! You've just raped a woman, and no one is the wiser. Now, all that's left for us, MGTOW, to do is to walk away and find our own justice and our own peace. Yes, MGTOW, walk away, because this is not going to change anytime soon. Thank you for listening, brothers and sisters. I will see you again at some later date in this crazy world we call home. Good night.
The unchaste, let us call it, mentality finds expression in the narration of imaginary sex incidents of which the narrator is the heroine or the victim. On the surface, the narration is straightforward and convincing. The real victim, however, is the innocent man, for the respect and sympathy naturally felt by any tribunal for a wronged female helps to give easy credit to such a plausible tale. Sir Matthew Hale, Lord Chief Justice of the King's Bench.
She took a bite just to have a taste of the whole human race. And she woke up, how she cried, oh she cried. I forgot how good it feels. All washed up. We wait in time will grow. Something has just dawned on me. The world went insane for a moment. Come listen, dear. He took his wife for the first time in his life. Oh God, how good it felt. And they